The oblique attack, a military tactic involving a concentrated assault on one flank or a specific part of an enemy line while keeping the rest of the opponent's forces in check, represents an innovative departure from traditional head-on confrontations. This method strategically exploits the principles of surprise, agility, and overwhelming localized superiority, allowing a commander to negate the opponent's numerical advantage. Central to the topic, from Leuctra to Leuthen, the evolution of the oblique attack. This tactic illustrates how military strategy has advanced through centuries, informed by context and necessity. Essentially, the oblique attack is significant because it demonstrates adaptability in military tactics, highlighting an evolution from rigid phalanx formations to more flexible strategies that emphasize tactical ingenuity. This approach not only changes the dynamics of battlefields, but also presents a psychological edge, often unsettling opponents who expect conventional engagements. Historically, the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BCE provides a landmark example. The Theban general Epaminondas used the oblique attack to defeat the numerically superior Spartan forces, concentrating his forces against one side of the Spartan line, and thus breaking their legendary dominance in Greek warfare. Similarly, Frederick the Great's victory at the Battle of Leuthen in 1757 during the 7 Years' War exemplifies the oblique attack's effectiveness. Frederick's forces maneuvered to strike the Austrian flank, leading to a decisive victory and solidifying his reputation as a brilliant military strategist. Supporters of the oblique attack emphasize its embodiment of strategic adaptability and the savvy allocation of resources to achieve disproportionate results. In contrast, critics might argue that executing such a complex maneuver requires not only precise timing and coordination, but also demands an exceptionally skilled command structure. Moreover, it can be vulnerable to strong countermeasures if the opponent anticipates the move, or if the attacking force underestimates other parts of the enemy line. The concept of the oblique attack influences other aspects of military strategy by emphasizing maneuverability and flexibility, hallmarks in modern military doctrines. It has inspired continuous innovation as strategists seek to harness similar principles in contemporary warfare contexts, adapting them to new technologies and battlefield conditions. By understanding the oblique attack, one gains insight into how armies have historically overcome their limitations, showcasing the timeless nature of strategic evolution in military history. The origins of the oblique attack concept trace back to the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BCE, where the Theban general Epaminondas introduced innovative tactical maneuvers that reshaped military strategies. The oblique attack involves concentrating forces on a specific part of the enemy line to achieve local superiority, breaking through and subsequently turning on the opposing flanks. Epaminondas's genius lay not only in conceptualizing this tactic, but in executing it with a phalanx weighted towards the left, enabling the Thebans to defeat the formidable Spartan army, which was known for its seemingly invincible hoplite force. The significance of this tactical evolution is profound. Epaminondas's innovations at Leuctra did more than secure a decisive victory against Sparta. They disrupted the prevailing military thinking of the time. This marked a paradigm shift from traditional battles where generals sought head-on engagements along entire fronts, showcasing the effectiveness of concentrated force application, foreshadowing tactics used in later centuries. A notable example of this tactic's enduring influence is in 371 BCE itself. The Thebans used the oblique formation to outmaneuver and overpower their opponents at the Battle of Mantinea. Another historical application is seen in Frederick the Great's deployment of this strategy at the Battle of Leuthen in 1757 during the 7 Years' War, where he successfully employed oblique lines to defeat a numerically superior Austrian army. Supporters of Epaminondas' strategy highlight its flexibility and the psychological impact of overwhelming force on a single front. By disrupting the enemy's line and morale, it creates opportunities for decisive victories. However, critics may point out potential challenges, such as the need for well-trained troops capable of executing precise maneuvers and the risk of overextending one's line if the concentrated attack fails. Controversies around this tactic involve debates on its applicability across different terrains and eras. While some argue its relevancy is timeless, others suggest it was contextually specific to the Greek hoplite warfare and may not seamlessly translate into modern warfare scenarios. Connecting back to the main topic, Epaminondas' innovations at Leuctra set a precedent for future tacticians like Frederick the Great, whose success at Leuthen demonstrated the oblique attack's adaptability and ongoing influence. This lineage of tactical evolution exemplifies how foundational military concepts, although rooted in antiquity, continue to inform and inspire strategic thinking across the ages. Thus, the oblique attack remains a pivotal study in the annals of military history, bridging ancient strategies with modern tactical planning. The concept of adaptation and the Macedonian phalanx under Philip II refers to the strategic innovations and modifications made by Philip the Great of Macedon to the traditional Greek phalanx formation, which ultimately allowed him to revolutionize warfare. The traditional Greek phalanx was a dense infantry formation that relied on heavily armored hoplites in close order. While effective, it was relatively inflexible and vulnerable to more mobile forces. Philip II introduced significant adaptations, such as incorporating lighter armor and longer spears, known as sarissas, along with a greater emphasis on training and discipline. This allowed the phalanx to be more flexible and maintain cohesion in diverse terrain, thus enhancing its effectiveness on the battlefield. The significance of these adaptations is paramount when exploring the evolution of military tactics from the Battle of Leuctra to the Battle of Leuthen. Philip's innovations not only made the phalanx a powerful offensive weapon, but also laid the groundwork for his son, Alexander the Great, to employ even more sophisticated strategies, including the oblique attack, which became instrumental in his conquests. One specific example of the Macedonian phalanx's effectiveness is seen in the Battle of Cannae in 338 BCE. Here, Philip utilized his revamped phalanx to defeat the combined forces of Athens and Thebes with a strategic maneuvering that epitomized flexibility and power. Another illustration is at the Battle of Issus in 333 BCE, where Alexander used the phalanx as the backbone of his army, allowing him to defeat a numerically superior Persian force by applying an oblique strategy. These examples highlight how adaptations made under Philip II were crucial stepping stones in the evolution of broader tactical innovations. Opinions supporting these innovations suggest that they were fundamental in transitioning ancient warfare from rigid formations to more dynamic engagements. However, some potential challenges include the initial resistance to change from more traditional commanders and the logistical difficulties of retraining entire armies. Alternative viewpoints may argue that while the Macedonian phalanx was innovative, it was the leadership and vision of commanders like Philip and Alexander that truly transformed warfare rather than the formations alone. The adaptations made to the Macedonian phalanx not only connect to tactical advances seen in subsequent battles, but also influence the broader military doctrine. This underscores how evolving battlefield strategies, like the oblique attack, continued to adapt and influence military thinking up to battles like Leuthen in 1757, where flexible and innovative approaches continued to dominate. The concept of oblique formations, as used by Hannibal at the Battle of Cannae, is a tactical maneuver where one side of the army advances more aggressively, creating a slanted or angled line of attack. This strategy exploits the weaknesses in the opponent's formation, allowing potentially smaller forces to achieve a decisive victory. Hannibal's use of the oblique attack at Cannae in 216 BCE marked one of the most significant applications of this tactic. He arranged his troops in an asymmetrical formation, with his infantry center intentionally thinner and his cavalry stronger on the wings. As the Roman legions pressed into the center, Hannibal's forces enveloped them from the sides and rear, resulting in a catastrophic defeat for Rome. Understanding Hannibal's use of the oblique formation is crucial when analyzing the evolution of military tactics from Leuctra to Leuthen. It represents a pivotal moment in military history, showcasing the effectiveness of flexibility and strategic positioning over mere numerical superiority. Hannibal's tactics at Cannae are considered a masterpiece of military strategy, influencing commanders for centuries. For instance, the Battle of Dyrrhachium during Caesar's civil war saw Julius Caesar attempting similar tactics, though circumstances led to a different outcome. More famously, Frederick the Great's application of the oblique approach at the Battle of Leuctra in 1757 demonstrated its enduring efficacy, allowing Prussia to defeat a larger Austro-Hungarian force. Support for Hannibal's approach comes from military historians who emphasize its brilliance and foresight, illustrating how innovation and cunning could overturn numerical disadvantages. However, some challenges and controversies exist surrounding its application. Critics point out that such tactics require exceptional discipline and leadership to execute effectively. Any misstep can lead to disaster if the enveloping forces fail to maintain cohesion. Additionally, environmental factors and battlefield conditions can limit the effectiveness of an oblique approach, making it a risky endeavor. Despite potential drawbacks, Hannibal's use of the oblique formation at Cannae directly connects to broader tactical evolutions in military history. It illustrates a shift away from frontal assaults, fostering a more nuanced understanding of terrain and troop maneuverability. This change in tactical thought would inspire future generations of commanders, influencing battles and wars for centuries to come. By examining Cannae, we gain valuable insights into the innovative strategies that have shaped the course of military history, underpinning the evolution of warfare from Leuctra to Leuthen.